it, mister?
It's Lynn and Scott. I'm here today. And next week, I'm going to be on the road, but I will be able to join you from a hotel room up in Panama City. So I've scheduled myself enough time so I can do it from the hotel room. So we will be here, but I've got a lot of traveling I'm doing. I want to say a great thank you to some of the first responders in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I had great opportunity to spend time with them and do some training today with them and some people that work in treatment industry. And these are good character people who are all trying to do the right thing and help people. So spent all day with them doing trainings today, and it was just fabulous. It was fabulous. So
I love that. And
Lynn, how you been?
I'm doing good. You know, I'm kind of glad you're having this topic today, and I'm glad for the wonderful friends we have in the wings that are gonna meet up with us in a few minutes, because you know, life changes and things are going on. So trying to work on that LynnSerrano.tv. It's kind of a little mess, but it's live, but there's nothing on there to really see. But the transition of, you know, relabeling and redoing things and stuff, you know, it's fun. And just getting the awesome people connected and being connected by great people. So like last week, we had a great topic, and we had this Mr. Bob Donnell. We had him be the co-host last week.
Bob, thank you so much, my friend.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So, hey, Lenny, you got the link in the back. There's plenty of room for you to be in here tonight, sir. It would be an honor. So, but we are so honored to have him there. And then, you know, behind some great guys, I know you're single, Scott, and I'm not putting you up on the market, but some guys have some awesome women that back them up and make them look good. And Bob has one right here. My soul sister, Flo. Flo, thank you for being a part here. I love you so much. We need to talk more, but it just, some people you do connect and you love them immediately. And so, and then the other person we have, and luckily we were just talking about this because Scott's been a little clueless about what this conversation with Bob means, but Mr. Steve Rizzo is in the house. And I was just saying behind the scenes, not to take much time, but I bought his Kindle, and I haven't really paid attention, but I got his book today. And look at this book. This book is amazing. I mean, he printed himself, and I mean, I can just tell you that it's just amazing. Like, I can't even. It's an awesome book, and I'm sure Bob will come up in conversation today. So,
and
anyhow,
just to say that this is not about the last time you and Bob Donnell had lunch together and you talked to Bob. You didn't write a book about that conversation, right?
Oh man, you just blew the whole thing. Oh man. No, Bob is God for those of you who are listening. Although there are some people that think Bob Donnell is God, but he is a very wise person. I've heard him a few times, and those few times I was quite impressed. So, you know, I would have to say that the higher Bob runs through Bob Donnell when he speaks.
Amen. Thank you.
So
you're welcome.
We'll call this one the Big Bob. How about that for the show purposes? He's Bob and he's the Big Bob.
The Bob.
I want to.
No, the Bob is what I used to sell, but that's a different story.
Okay. But you got to be careful, see, because if Bob is God, you don't want to call him Bob Jr. because they're going to think he's Jesus, and we don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Bob, you're being set up to come out looking good no matter what happens here.
It can go one or two ways.
Yeah.
Oh, and just.
But I want to ask real quick, Steve. This book, was this something that was like years and years of conversations that went on within yourself with your higher power, or what was it?
Great question, and if you don't mind, I'll just tell you a brief story.
Please do.
How this happened. It was at one of the lowest, if not the lowest point in my life after a 34-year divorce, and it was my decision, which made it even worse. And you know, I'm a personal development speaker, motivational speaker, and I was having a hard time even on a platform because I felt I wasn't walking the talk because I just went into this tunnel, this negative zone. And after I told my wife that I wanted a divorce, yet we were still living together, I decided one morning I woke up and I don't know what possessed me, but something inside me, and I know it was Bob, not Donnell, but Bob. Bob. Bob told me I have to move to California. I know this sounds weird. It was within me, and I don't know why. And I have friends there. I have friends all over the country. And I said, listen, I want to rent a place in Marina Del Rey. Can you help me out? And they did. And I told my wife. She asked me to seek help. You know, did something wrong? Let me help you. And I left, and I knew I had to face my demons and whatever. Perhaps maybe we could even talk about that later on in the show. What was really getting to me. So to make a long story short, I rented this apartment. I stayed there for 2 years, and I exercise every day. I always have, and I was working out at a 24-hour gym. And after my workout, I would walk out on Venice Beach at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And one morning, it hit me. I couldn't hold back the emotions anymore, and I absolutely went. I know what it's like to go out of your mind. I mean, you hear that saying all the time, but I was out of my mind. And I had this heart-wrenching anger and fear and emotions just wrenching from me. And I was cursing at God. And if anyone would have heard me, they definitely would have dialed 911. And I was actually picking up sand and throwing it at God in the air, like, you know, he's going to feel it.
Yeah.
And I was kicking waves in the air. I was just going crazy. And as everything started subsiding and my emotions and the tears subsided, I took a step and I said to myself, what is wrong with me? And what am I doing here? And then I took another step and I heard something within me say, you know why you're here and you know what's wrong. You're just way too caught up in your own drama to find the answer. It's time for you to walk your talk. And I went, where the hell did that come from? So I got into my car, went back to my apartment. I took up my pad and pen because that's how I write. And I typed in another question. And all of a sudden, without thinking, another answer came. Then another question, then another answer. And this went on for hours, about 5 hours. I'm asking questions. And I was exhausted. I let it go. I woke up the next morning and I read what I wrote. And I don't remember writing more than half the stuff that I wrote. And so I kept asking another question, another answer was coming. And within a couple of days, I said, oh, man, I got a book here. And as I said to you guys earlier, before the show started, it took me 7 years to write this book. And every time I thought it was finished, Bob said, no, man, you got some more stuff to discover about yourself. The transformation's taking place, but it's not there yet. And you can't do it. There's more stuff. So I kept writing. And finally, I woke up one morning and it was ready. I just released it 2 months ago, not even.
You know what I love about this? Well, there's a lot of things I love about this, but the fact that our title today is, does your story hold you back or lift you up? You know, I'd love for you to take a moment and explain where your career started and where you went really quick, because I want to introduce Scott Schilling.
My career started because of my negative labels. I was voted least likely to succeed in my senior class in high school. I was told by a guidance counselor that I wasn't smart enough to go to college. I was 14. He said it in front of my mom and dad. The sad truth is that I believed him. We figured he's got to know what he's talking about. Look at his title, guidance counselor. If he doesn't know, who does? Unknowingly, when I got out of high school, those negative labels became I molded my life by those labels. They were the determining factors for all the choices that I made. And one day, after 5 years of partying way too much and drinking way too much, my brother, who's 100% disabled from the Vietnam War, took me to college, signed me up for classes, and I was petrified. He signed me up for 4 classes, and I went. Make a long story short, I finished college. I got degrees in psychology, English, education, and a master's in theater arts. I went back to the same school that I graduated from. And I became an English teacher and a counselor for kids with behavioral problems. And at night, I started doing comedy at the clubs that are opening up on Long Island and in the city. And I was doing really well. And after a couple of years of teaching and counseling, I quit and did stand-up comedy full time. And I thought I had the world in the palm of my hands. My opening acts, when I started headlining clubs and theaters throughout the country, Chris Rock opened for me, Jerry Seinfeld opened for me, Brian Regan opened up for me, Drew Carey opened for me. Drew Carey was my roommate, and when I moved to LA, and something started happening through the years, I noticed my opening acts were getting all the breaks. And I was saying, holy shit, why is an opportunity knocking on my door? And I took a hard look at myself again, and I realized opportunity was knocking. I was afraid to open the door. I had a fear. I realized I had a fear of success and failure. My negative labels came back to haunt me. And once I was smart enough to realize what was happening, I went on a quest to better myself. It took me years, many years, about 5 years. I went to motivational seminars, spiritual seminars, Tony Robbins seminars. And it was at a Tony Robbins seminar when my belief system in myself was so empowering, it was off the charts. And it was at a Tony Robbins seminar where I as he's commanding this audience of 4,000 people, I picked up a pen and I wrote, I can do this. And then I put the pen down. A little while later, I picked it up. I said, I should do this. Put the pen down. A little while later, I wrote, damn it, I'm going to do this. And that was the determining factor. I have that paper in a frame in glass over my desk in my office. So I left stand-up comedy at the very pinnacle of my career when the industry was interested in me. I had a big argument with my roommate, Drew Carey. I moved back to Long Island and stayed with my wife. And I pursued a career that I knew nothing about, but everything started falling in place. And this is what I've been doing. My last stand-up routine was in the Millennium 2000 in Charlotte, North Carolina. That was it.
Wow. What a story.
I love that because, and I love that. And we're going to pick up on that here in a minute, but I love the title of this. That sucks. What now?
Whose book is that?
This is Mr. Scott Schilling.
I love that title.
I know. I just got his book and your book. So, yeah, I know I got a list for Scott Mr. Jonesy to purchase.
Yes.
So, Scott, welcome to the stage here. And I'm going to bring it back to Scott Jonesy about why we picked this topic and how Steve Rizzo's conversation and Scott and Bob and Flo and how we all mesh with this title and where we're at now. So take it away, Jonesy.
Well, you guys know what I do. You know where I work. I work in the addictions and mental health field. I train people to deal with it in their places of work, in their homes, and in their families and their communities. How to deal with addictions. And we also train treatment centers to do a better job at engaging people and getting them excited about their life. We got treatment centers that are phoning it in right now, just bringing people in through the door, charging an arm and a leg to the insurance companies, making a lot of money, but not engaging the clients in getting excited about rebuilding their lives. But anyway, I'm dedicated to that cause and working with first responders and, of course, people who need help. But I had to walk a path to get to where I am now. And that path included some of the really lowest points in my life, including sitting in the back of a police car with the handcuffs cutting into my wrists, looking at a jail cell door, watching the look on my kids' faces. I get arrested in front of them, becoming violent enough to physically harm my wife and my kids. And I know what it's like to sit there with a knife or a gun or a razor in my hand and just pray for the courage to kill myself, because that's what I thought was the only way out for me. That was the only way out. The pain was unbearable. The pressure was unbearable, everything. And the shame, the shame was the worst part of it. The things I was doing, the things I had done, the way I was living, I was so full of shame. It's not what I thought I should be. And when I came out of the other side of that and I got clean and sober, first of all, and then I started to learn about myself. One of the things, the first thing I learned was, if I'm living in shame and guilt, I am not growing. I cannot do that. I've got regrets in my life. We all do, but I cannot live in shame and guilt. So my story had to become a building block for me to change my life, not be something that holds me back, not be something that holds me down. My weaknesses in my life now become strength for others so that they don't have to make my mistakes. I'm not saying I could go out there and change the world. I can't even go out there and change one person, but I can hopefully be an understanding voice in a very dark place for a lot of people. And I cannot do that if I'm going to hide from my past. Too many people want to close the door on their story, close the door and say, none of that happened. I'm now this person, and that never existed. And they lose the lessons. They lose that power that they have to change other people. We need to be doing this. We need to take our mistakes and make these part of the pillars of who we are today. And that's why I ask people, don't let your story be your shame or be your mess or be anything. Let it be your strength. Let it be your building block for a better you. And don't be ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed. If I'm so ashamed I can't talk about the violence that existed within me, when someone else comes along and they're feeling the same way, how am I going to help them if I'm ashamed of talking about it?
Yeah.
I can't be. There are some people that turn off to me because I tell them things about me that they find apprehensible. They cannot reconcile with that. I can't fix other people, and it's not my job. All I could do is I could tell you that I've been in some very dark places, but because of that, every ray of light, every ray of sunshine means more to me than it does most other people, and I'm blessed by that. So I'm asking everybody out there, don't let your story hold you back. Make your story your strength. Turn it around. Don't hide from it. Don't be ashamed of it. I'm not proud of some of the things I did, and I really wish I could change some of them, but I cannot live in guilt and shame. I've got to embrace what I've done so that I can be better at who I am today. That's why I brought this up. I watched some great people. I got to look in the face of a woman today who lost her son from an addiction, and she could have hid from this world, but instead she's out there trying to help other people so that they don't lose their sons and daughters. You know, she's taken that pain in her life and turned it into an amazing strength. You know, and you know my story. 2 years ago, I lost my wife, and there's people out there that lose people all the time, but they turn that into a message that can help other people. Turn your mess into a message. That's right, Nicole. She's got it. So I'm impressed every day by people who do those things. I'm impressed by you guys who take your stories and turn them into lessons for others to learn from.
That's
but you can't be a perfect human being and expect people to follow you, because nobody follows perfection. Perfection sucks.
I know.
There's only one guy. There's only one guy that had that down. It ain't anybody on this panel. So
yeah, right.
The other side of it is, Jonesy, I don't know you that well, and I've been blessed to know you through the last few shows. But I can tell you, you're absolutely dead ass wrong if you don't think you're changing lives.
Absolutely. I was just going to say that.
Because you are changing lives.
Yep.
And
yeah. Tell
them. The fact that you would share those stories. Mother Teresa said it this way: if you can't feed 100, feed one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, you might have this goal to change this plethora of people, but I'm sorry I was late, but I was doing a radio show and I said, here's the bottom line. I'm really good at a lot of stuff, but I'm terrible at reading minds. So I gave it up a long time ago. Yeah. I don't try to determine who or whatever I'm saying is going to have an impact with. I have a high intention of imparting something good every time something comes out of my face, and a low attachment as to what that is for me, for them, for anybody. And your story is doing so much good for so many more than you've ever dreamed.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to just continue to share your story. You don't have to make it so purposeful, because there is. Make your mess into your message, make your tests into your testimonies.
Yeah.
You know, and take what you've been granted. In my book, I write about positive discontent. Positive discontent is being unabashedly grateful for everything that happens in your life.
That's right.
And yet still knowing to use it as a motivator to move forward towards something else. Positive discontent. And going forward to take those experiences with the intention of sharing them without a string attached to it. You don't have to know who you're going to positively impact by sharing it. But I can tell you, like I said, I haven't known you that long and I don't know you that well. But I can assure you, you've had impact on me already in the little time that we've spent together.
And not only,
thank you, Scott.
Look how talented he is too. He is modest and talented.
And you know what amazes me? You know, I've been in the motivational business, personal development, speaking business for a long time, and I know speakers, no names will be mentioned, who are really great, but people look at them as someone that has a persona of just greatness, and they have stories that are not being told, because I know what they went through. I know their past, and I have talked to them so many times and said, "Man, why don't you tell your story, where you came from? Why don't you tell them that you were here and now you're here?" Because there are people sitting in the audience. It's just like Scott was just saying. There are people sitting in the audience going, the lesson is, it's like, oh my God, look where he is now and look what he went through. If he can do it, maybe I can do it. But they don't tell that part of their story.
Yeah.
It's
And
interesting.
it absolutely amazes me.
There was a gentleman that I respect tremendously, and we were sitting in his backyard probably about 3:30 in the morning, maybe after a little too much red wine, and he was sharing a variety of different issues in his life, and they were major issues. But he was just lamenting all these different things between family and situations and all this stuff. And I looked over and I said, "And I'm aspiring to be you. Why?" And he went, "Touche, grasshopper." It was one of those moments.
I love it.
What you were saying is absolutely true. Every one of us,
Yeah,
and every person has got their stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
Again, the book, the reason That Sucks, What Now? That sucks. I wish it wouldn't have happened that way. What now?
Yeah.
No time to sit around and be in the pity party. Let's go fix it, right?
yes.
And so the subtitle is Real World Solutions for Getting Through What You're Going Through.
And that's what
We wouldn't have the answers that we have, the solutions that we've learned, the experiences to be able to share and help others if we hadn't been able to live it. I wouldn't ask for a near-death experience, but I had one, and boy, I learned a heck of a lot from it. And because of that, I know that I've probably, I shared it from stage one time, and a guy came up to me and said, "Thank you, I'm going straight from here to the hospital."
Right.
Because I shared the story. And so no matter how horrendous they are, they were actually given to us. In my opinion, they've been given to us so that we could be of service to others. The question is, do we choose to be that service or not?
Agree. I love that. Love that. What do you think, Bob?
I think everyone's absolutely right, and everything you guys have shared is right. Right? We know that we've got messages, we've got stories. They're either going to die within us or they're going to live beyond us. But I think I always go back to the questions, but what's the question we ask ourselves about our story? Do we ask the right questions? If we don't, we're going to get the wrong answer every time. I think one of the questions I ask myself about my story is, was it meant for just me?
Okay.
And once I realized that no, it wasn't meant for just me, then what am I going to do about that? And am I looking at it as an investment, or am I looking at it as an expense? An expense, we expect no return on the investment, but an investment, we always are looking for the return. So I'm looking at it as an investment. So then what's my return? My return is going to be found in what I find, what I know, what I learn, what I experience. But my greater return is going to be on how it lives beyond just me, how it lives on in my kids, how it lives on in my family, how it lives on in my friends, my community. And that's where I go, if we focus on the wrong thing, we will always continue to get the wrong thing. The right thing would be, how does it live beyond me and an immediate experience?
I love that.
Yeah.
I love
great.
that.
Very much.
Incredible.
Bob, you asked such great questions. Dang you.
Yeah. He's got us all. Every time he talks, everybody stops for a minute. It's like, all right, yeah, I follow you. I'm with you. No,
I'm serious. He asks some of the best questions ever.
Yeah.
He does get to it.
I'm not
The master of questions.
Yes, absolutely. But one of the overall things in this, though, is that you have to own your story if you want to change things.
Oh, absolutely.
You cannot be a victim. and expect
Yep.
to change things. You cannot be out of or not in control or be hidden from things and expect things to change.
Yeah.
I had to own my violence in order to become a less violent human being.
Yep.
But I could not become a less violent human being until I got rid of all my own shit and owned the fact that's what I am. Now, what am I going to do about it?
And owning it is the key word.
Owning it.
Yeah.
Anything you own, you can change. Anything you don't own, you're stuck with.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
so own it. Look at your story and own every piece of it, because then you can grow from it. You could change it. You can make it different. You can grow. You could share it. You can do whatever you want to do, but you got to own it. You cannot hide from it and say, well, that wasn't me. Well, if it wasn't you, who the hell was it?
Exactly.
It wasn't Jack Daniels that turned me into a monster.
And
I'm a monster that Jack Daniels released. But once I own the monster in me, I could become something different.
that's pretty cool.
Jonesy, I loved what you said about guilt and shame. I get asked all the time, what do I think are the biggest crippling factors for human beings? Guilt and shame. Guilt and shame. But they will stop them from doing the things they know they can do, should do, and won't do. And it'll stop them from speaking their mind, for speaking their truth, whatever it is. And man, that fact about guilt and shame, Jonesy,
doesn't it feel like it's almost like a manifestation that we create so that we don't have to face things and change things? We create guilt and shame so we can stifle ourselves and not have to deal with it.
Exactly. I went to California. I went to California for that reason, because I knew what I had to face, and I was petrified. I knew why I was going, and I knew what I had to do. I knew I had to walk on the beach every morning, and I knew something was going. I felt it building up. And when it did, I really went out of my mind. I mean, I was exhausted, and it built up. And what I have found now, at this point in my life, I'm almost 71 years old. My greatest challenges, the things that I've cursed, are my greatest blessings, because I own them. I get it. And when I'm on the platform, I used to have two great skills that made me a good speaker. This isn't boasting. I was very funny, and I told good stories.
He said was, huh? Oh, okay.
Well, still, I'm very
own it.
And adds to the
don't laugh. He's not funny anymore.
Funny, great story. But the third thing I found out, and that's at the beginning of my book, Conversation with Bob, is I learned that vulnerability, being vulnerable, was my greatest asset to tell my story.
Yeah.
And it's the people in the audience, and you can tell when you're looking out in the audience, whether it's 20 people or 8,000 people, and you could just see people shaking their heads and some people doing this. It's another step to empowerment. It's another step with a higher part of you saying, this is what you were put on this planet to do. It's almost like you were supposed to experience that crap, but you grabbed the golden ring because you realize not only did you experience it, you own it, and you're letting people know that there's hope for them somehow, some way, if they hear your story. So it's just amazing how our lives go in full circle, and all the things that I cursed. And then I say to myself, oh my God, if that didn't happen to me, I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have met this person. I wouldn't have learned this. If I didn't move here, I wouldn't have learned. And all of a sudden it comes in full circle. The answers come as you get older. And that's one of the blessings of getting older in life, is because clarity comes to you in such a profound way. You have to laugh, because if you don't laugh, you start cursing at it.
Well, let's get a reality check for a moment here. Let's check in with the real feeling human beings here. Mama Flo and Lynn, you guys have been sitting back while all the guys were talking about feelings and shit. Let's hear the truth from you guys.
Go, Flo.
Oh, I was just thinking, I had a full circle where I was growing up as a kid, hating working in the field, being a farm girl, and hated it. But then going through life and experiencing things, here I am, full circle, back being the farm girl, having a company, Farm Girl Edibles, creating gourmet jams and jellies. And it's like living through that. It was kind of funny or ironic how I did do a full circle and went right back to my roots, because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
yeah.
So
So
you obviously view it different than how you viewed it then.
exactly. I mean, and all I became that working through all of the things because I would sneak out of the field saying, I'll go cook that. I'll go in the kitchen and cook. It was cooler in the kitchen. I got to watch TV. So I learned how to cook and make things. And so I went back to what I knew. So it was ironic.
Delicious, might I add.
Thank you, Lynn.
I'm a fan over here. Anyhow,
But Flo, can I ask? Don't you think, or let me ask you, that that's the stuff that made you who you are? It's like a journey to discover your true self, and
Right.
it's all that crap that you went through that you didn't like that really catapulted you to find out who you really were. Because it's just as important to know what you don't want as it is to know what you do want.
Right. And I was the one that ran away to school and said, I don't want anything to do with the farm. Got educated, being the first to graduate from college, all of that. And then here I was being a stay-at-home mom with a college degree. And it was like, then it became a divorce. It was like, okay, what am I going to do with that? What am I going to do now? I was stay-at-home mom where I wasn't the breadwinner. So then I was like, well, what do I know? What do I know? I can lean back on my college education, but I can lean back on what I learned on the farm and how I learned how to cook and what I know, how things are supposed to taste. So that's what I went back to. So
Wow.
it's all that struggle of learning, gosh, here I am on this part of the road. Which fork am I going to go? Am I going to go this way or am I going to go this way? So it is where you have to go back and say, where I came from, you just got to put your boots back on and keep on going.
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, not always, it's closing the door on the past. It's stepping back into the past saying, you know what? It's really not the same as I thought it was. It's different. And that part of that is really who I am. And
Exactly.
music was like that for me when I was young. I loved music. I was always in musicals. I was always dancing, always singing, always doing stuff. And then my addiction took over. Music became non-existent in my life for years. And when that was one of those things, when I look back on the story of my past, I said that music used to uplift me in the hardest times because I grew up in an addicted household with problems. So let me go back to that. And music now becomes my strength. It's now part of me, and it's huge. As you can, I got guitars everywhere and music and painting, but yeah, so that's all part of it too. It's not always do we shut the door on everything from our past. Some of that stuff we go back and revisit and say that's kind of part of who I am. I need to bring that forward with me. I need to dust that off and clean it up and look at it a little differently and turn that into what I am now. So I mean, just so many great things with this, and you guys, I love all of your input on all of this. What do you think, Lynn?
Well, it is a full circle type of thing, and it's one of those things where I was shy and an introvert from really young, and then sixth grade being humiliated by my Canadian teacher who he downgraded me for being Puerto Rican, and I wasn't going to be nothing and not having a voice. And at that time I was going through sexual abuse. I was going through parents being divorced. I mean, just a lot of different humility things. And he'd put me up in front of the classroom and literally yell at me. And I'll tell you what, everybody in that class are attorneys, judges, doctors, nurses, you name it, everyone. And there's like three of us that he would point out. And it's interesting. Everyone's been very successful and this and that. But I'll tell you what, the lawyers in there said, man, he wouldn't live to see a day the way he treated me back then. But what I'm saying is I could look at it one way. I could look at it like poor me then, but it's anchored me to always say that when I'd be up there and I'd look at him stern and be like, you're not going to break me. And I mean, tears would be coming out of my eyes. And he just like pushing me. I'd always say, you're not bringing me down. not today, Mr. Shanks. You're not bringing me down, because what he had to say and do and what I was living and the way I was trying to survive, he was the least of my worries at the time. But that's the anchor of where I said, I will be seen, I will be heard one day, and I'll understand what the purpose is. And so, as far as, I think it was, I forget who said this, and I apologize, I don't remember, but it just comes to mind that we forget that we're here, and the message that, was it meant for me or just for everybody? Like, I know what I need to do next. I know what God and the higher power and Big Bob is asking me to do. And it wasn't my ego. It's just been my humility in what I need to do next and being full circle. And it's one of those things where if it wasn't for people that took the steps before me to have the balls to talk about sexual abuse, domestic violence. I mean, I was in domestic violence for 19 years, and there was only 3 things on the huge ass list, only 3 things that I did not go through in that domestic violence for 19 years. That's all I'm going to leave. So if you look at a list, I was humiliated. I was going to be a cop, New York State trooper. Okay. And I even had a cop come to my house at the time I was going through that stuff. She was from Long Island too. And she goes, you know what? I was in a domestic, somebody that was, was going to be a set high cadet going in as a sergeant for my background, and then feel like I am this dumb that I fell for everything. It was my ego. It was I'm trained to know evil. I'm trained to leave from that, till when the shit happens to you, it's on the other foot, and you realize it in a humble way of what's going on. And it's just the humility that you fight within yourself, but you got to have the voice to help those other people to get out of their comfort zone and know that we're okay. I'm not the only one that's ever been through all that stuff. I'm not the only one that, ate fried onions for 6 days a week. I'm not one that, went through so much stuff. And I don't say any of that to make anybody feel bad, but it's given me empathy with the world and compassion for the world, and to know that there's so much stuff behind closed doors that people don't see. And I'm glad that we've evolved where a lot of things that are in the closed doors that we actually bring out to surface, because those stories change and break down the stigma of what statistics show. Being a Latina woman, and, Latina, we're Black, Native American, and Caucasian, you name it. We're the melting pot, and Native American. I mean, so we're a melting pot of things, and all the judgments and everything. So, it's a really good thing to just know that, I've built a network of friends here that come and help and give of themselves to share, that we all are doing things to change humankind, but we all can be vulnerable to say this isn't how it started for all of us. We got out of our own way and went for the greater being of what we went through and made it bigger for the sake of, or in honor of those that are gone.
I just don't know shit, because Lynn and I were friends 100 years ago back in Syracuse, New York. And the whole time I thought she was Italian. I didn't know shit about shit.
I know. Yeah,
I didn't know anything.
Yep.
All I know is that her parents talked funny and she talked funny, and then she had to be Italian. I didn't know anything.
Hey, what's that supposed to mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Being from Long Island to Syracuse, the talk was so different. Everybody knew.
Yeah.
That was the other thing he got.
I thought New York accent was Italian. That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it is.
I didn't know. I was a kid.
Yeah, because
But
they all
listen,
say forget about it. Hey, not from nothing.
Let me ask you guys a question, because I think this is key, and I just want your opinions on this. In order to reconcile your past, or to balance the books, I like to call it balancing the books, because you're not turning away from it. You're simply finding a way to really look at it for what it was and build on it. So we're balancing the books of our past. How important is it to you? Because I know it was important to me to change the self-talk as I grew and as I changing the self-talk, and from I'm a piece of shit, or that I'm not worthy, to I could do anything I need to do. And that allowed me to reconcile that past. Have you guys experienced that, having to change the self-talk from the times when you were younger to when you achieved what you wanted to achieve?
Yeah, and we're going to let Steve go, but then this is how we're going to wrap up with this thing. So
yeah, if you guys don't mind. And then whatever other thoughts to do your wrap up.
Some people call it negative self-talk, and it comes at you all the time. It's always when you're trying to succeed is when the negative self-talk comes back to haunt you. I call it self-curse talk because you're casting a spell on your life. And this is what happens to people all the time when their toxic past haunts them and they go to achieve something and it's not going the way that they want, or they get some kind of criticism from someone and it just brings them back 20,000 steps and they start saying, I should never have tried this. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. Every time I try to do something, it never works. I always go 2 steps up, 5 steps back. I should never have invested this money in this goal. Why is it that everybody else has what I want? That's self-curse talk. And that all comes from the crap that was bestowed upon you by yourself. You did it unknowingly, but it's the way you deciphered stuff when life was throwing crap at you. And you come away with this belief system that is not conducive to being creative or productive. And the only way you can overcome that is by becoming aware of what's happening to you. And it's the awareness that sets you free, because then you can say, I have an alternative on how to turn this around. But I can get into that, but I don't want to take anyone's time anymore. But it's a horrible thing, and it can haunt you for the rest of your life.
Beautiful.
Who wants to go next?
Who's next?
Don't all jump at once.
Go ahead, Scott Schilling.
Yeah.
Thanks for being voluntold. So appreciate that. Did he say that because he likes me or doesn't like me? I'm not sure. What did
We'll have a show on that next time.
Why did he do that? Was that
he did it because he still needs a few more sips of his iced coffee to get his head
Do I
straight.
have self-talk? I'm not sure about self-talk. Anyway, no, I mean, I think that certainly self-talk, we're thinking a lot of thoughts each day, and I am a huge proponent of better to have better thoughts than to have lesser than better thoughts. I don't even say the word. If you've never noticed, I say positive or less than positive. I don't even say the other word. I've worked diligently to do that because that's part of my self-talk. Cool. I'm going to listen. I can tell you all the great speakers. I can tell you all the less than great speakers. It just is what it is. You're going to have all these different situations. It's part of the reason I wrote the book, quite frankly, not because I wanted to detail all the butt kickings I've taken in my career. It's to say that I've made it through all of them, and that what I learned because I did. And you can't change anything going back, so why do that? That's silly. But it's the lessons learned and what you do with those lessons. And at some point, when you get around enough really quality people, like everybody that's here and those that are listening, because I know some of the friends that are listening, I've seen the names and everything pop up. They're amazing people. And it takes that kind of purposeful surrounding yourself with quality people to keep you in that frame of reference. Let's just say we are not going through the easiest of times. Has anybody else noticed that, or just me? There's been some stuff the last couple of years, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so the point is, you can take that stuff and you can go, it's the greatest junk in the world, or you can fall back into things like growth equals awareness plus inspired action. We now have new awareness of all sorts of stuff that, quite frankly, I'm sure a lot of us had no desire to know about. But there's a lot of stuff happening. But now that we have this awareness, we can take inspired action towards doing something better. And when we do that, we will all grow. We will ultimately come out of all this crud much better off. And people say, how can you say that? Well, because that's my plan. My plan is to prosper through all this stuff, not by helping more people. People are raising their hands saying, hey, I need help. Well, you know what? I happen to be in the help business. That's great. So the opportunities are greater than they've ever been. And quite frankly, people need more. And what that will do is, if people will recognize that people need more and people will apply themselves to give more, they will in turn feel better. And quite frankly, we can make a much greater positive shift and get to a tipping point of much more positivity and much more good. And unfortunately, sometimes you got to spot the less than good first. And it's unfortunate. But I mean, I think you've got to put yourself in that place of going, Einstein said it. In the midst of every crisis lies great opportunity.
Yes.
The good news is we got so many damn crises. Just how much opportunity is there? Right? I mean, how excited can we be? And so I just say go for it.
Well said.
That's my story.
Absolutely. It's a
Thank
great
you.
time to be a masochist. Just pick your poison, right?
That's exactly. But damn it, do it well.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I just want to acknowledge my niece here. She says, I believe that you can say every time I think 2 steps forward, just take 5 steps back. As long as you keep trying to move forward, that's the big difference.
Yep.
Thank you,
That is-
Lindsay, for chiming in. I appreciate you.
Very true. Very true.
Yeah, we're
Oh,
blessed to
Debbie.
have you in our life too, Debbie.
We love Debbie.
We love Debbie.
Yes.
We love Debbie. And tomorrow morning, a selfish plug for other Lynn's Serrano Debbie's pop-up. We're going to have it in the time slot tomorrow at noon.
Who would have thought?
We're
There's
gonna
no
have it
shame here, people. No shame here.
Yeah. Hey, yeah. I got some great friends, and that's what I love about this whole Lynn and friends. It's just that's about us. Lynn and who's coming on the stage with her next?
It's going to be noon tomorrow, Eastern Standard Time, or what?
Yes. Noon Eastern Time. I'm going to post it on Facebook after this show. Yeah, we're going to wrap this up in about another 8 minutes because I have a mastermind meeting with Scott Schilling after this program.
Flo, what's your final thoughts there, darling?
Yes.
I like how Scott said, I use positive and less than positive instead of negative.
I like
And that's a great reminder because I do try to ward off the negative thoughts once they're thought. I really try to turn it. It's a work in progress, like everybody is, but you really do have to try to self-recognize it and then just cancel it, basically.
Yes.
That's
Absolutely.
as best I can.
I
love
love
that.
that.
Lynn, you might want to have another show like that. How to cancel the negative stuff that tries to bring us down.
Oh,
and Flo just said it's the awareness and the recognizing first. You can't fix something unless you know it's broken. Most people go their whole lives living in the negative zone, but you might want to have a group of people say what they do to counteract the shit that life throws at them all the time.
I'm going to have a show that's going to be called Meek and Mild Gone Wild with a question mark. And Flo is going to be on that show. They're going to, all of you guys will be on that show.
So we could call it Go.
I don't think the rest of us qualify as meek and mild.
Oh, no, we are.
And have Flo on the show and call it Go with the Flow.
That's right. Yeah, Lynn.
If you're looking
Lynn
for the
and Flo,
crude and
go.
loud crowd, we got it right here.
Oh, my
What do you
goodness.
say, Bob?
I say there's 2 things to look for: excuses or reasons.
Yeah.
And you have 2 children that grow up in the same neighborhood in Chicago.
Oh.
One becomes a drug addict, living under a bridge, dies of an overdose. One becomes Oprah Winfrey. What's the difference? One uses their past as an excuse. One uses their past as a reason. I don't ever want to become like that, so I will never allow that to happen to me or anyone in my family. That's a reason. The other one says, the reason I am the way I am is because of the way I was raised. When we talk about excuses versus reasons, I think the bottom line is any excuse will do, and so will any reason.
Yep.
Ooh, I love that.
Beautifully
said.
put.
Love it.
Beautifully
Well
put.
said.
Love that.
All right. Well, that's a great way to wrap that segment up. It's an excuse or a reason. It's your choice which one it's going to be, by the way. It's not assigned to you. It's your
That's right.
choice.
Amen.
Understand that. Your story is your story. Now, the first couple chapters are written by the people in your life, your mother, your father, whoever's taking care of you, feeding you, doing those things. But one day you wake up, you realize the pen is in your hand. What are you going to write next? What are you going to do next? What are you going to do with the stories that happened last chapter? Are you going to bring those into the new chapter, or are you just starting over? What are you going to do? And it's really important. And to realize there's not a writing in the world when it comes to warfare or fighting or anything else, whether it's The Art of War, or if you're reading Bruce Lee's book on Jeet Kune Do, the one thing you have to understand is who is your enemy. And in this life, the only enemy that I have to worry about is my own self.
Amen.
Nobody has ever damaged me the way I've damaged myself. No one has ever hurt me the way I've hurt myself. No one has ever limited me the way I've limited myself. And if I don't want those limits, if I don't want that hurt, if I don't want that damage, own the fact that I'm responsible for everything that I do and everything that happens to me, and move forward. And don't live in fear of anyone else, because there's not a person on this planet that can do to me what I've already done to myself.
Yes, right.
They can't do it. And Bob, you're right. It's a reason, do I take my story and do I make it a reason to build something better? Or do I use it as an excuse to run and hide?
Yep.
What is it going to be? I love all of you guys. You guys are brilliant, beautiful people. Steve, is great to get to know you a little bit. You guys are great. Lynn, why don't you wrap this up for us? Because this has been a great show. I'm just humbled that you guys would share this much with us. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me on the show.
I'd ask you one more thing, Jonesy.
Yeah.
Be really good at forgiving yourself too. You're awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Listen, I've had to come to that thing, and people have to understand forgiveness is not a clean slate. Forgiveness is not saying that what I did was acceptable or what I did is okay. But what it means is that I can grow and move forward from that. I don't have to repeat the same mistakes. The truth is, I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make amends for the way that I've treated my children, my wife, my friends, and my family. I can spend the rest of my life making amends for that. But amends is not running around with my head between my legs. Amends is living a better life than I was living before, and sharing with as many people as I can possibly share. And guess what? Making that amends has given me gifts beyond my wildest dreams. So forgiveness is simply the ability to say that I can change. People don't forgive themselves when they don't believe they can change.
Truth.
Well said.
Word.
Word. Who said word? Who said word? What is it?
Word up.
No, we back in his word, brother. Yeah.
Not the Bob, but Bob.
Bob.
Yeah.
Sometimes he talks like the Bob. I got to tell you.
the tool, the Bob.
Wow.
As we wrap it up here, I just and Debbie saying word. It's amazing. It's not amazing. I think things happen the way they're supposed to happen. But back on Sealy Street, a girl met a boy. They became friends. In '83, they meet up again and they stayed friends. And then years go by. Quite a few years go by, and this is a guy that doesn't stay connected to people he grew up with. And he chose me. And I feel very special and honored for that, to reconnect. And together we have definitely made an impact, and definitely connecting people and making a difference. And I'm just honored to be a small little smidgen of that, because we're all part of this. It's a collaborative puzzle. It's a puzzle pieces putting people together to make a difference and say, why the heck people keep coming back? We're honored to have Bob and Flo coming back, and Debbie, who's with us here, and our other friends that are, Lenny and Jerry and all of them that have chimed in. And we're just honored, because we know that this is our place, that our experiences are here for greater and beyond when we leave, and leaving this digital currency here for other people to see that they don't have to suffer. They don't have to be the reason or the excuse. You have to believe that you're here and you went through those things for a blessing way greater and bigger than you. And when you realize that, your story that you hold can either bring you up or bring you down, but we choose to bring everybody together and not leave anyone behind.
Wow.
Scott?
Well put. You guys are amazing. Again,
Amen.
Steve, Scott, Bob, Flo, Lynn, you guys, thank you so much for taking your Tuesday night. I mean, I know it's not like the old Tuesday nights. The old Tuesday nights Laverne and Shirley was on. We don't miss
Happy
that
Days.
for shit.
And the Happy Days.
and half the days. I used to do a show with Carmen Raguso, which Eddie Maca used to come in and do a radio show with me and stuff. But anyway, you guys take your time and come in here, and we appreciate it. And hopefully somebody out there is getting some messages from us. Please reach out to us. Reach out to any one of us. We're all in service to others, I think. Yeah. And we have different areas that we fulfill. And if I'm not the guy, then maybe it's Scott, or maybe it's Bob, or maybe it's Steve, maybe it's Flo or Lynn, but we all kind of fill those areas because we're all trying to give back. And there's no greater reward than seeing the light come on in somebody else's eyes. Beautiful thing, right?
Yep.
It's beautiful.
Great.
And just remember, this is the Lynn and Scott show where we all see it. We all have different perspectives. We all love and respect each other, and we listen to each other and have, it's just a great place to be. So thank you so much, you guys. Love you so much, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
All right.
See
God
ya.
bless you guys.
Bye, you guys.
Take care.
Bye, guys.
Thanks.
Keeping me safe and sound. And when I fall, you tied a rope to me. You're blessing me every day.